I was going to talk to you guys about the fact that Paris is currently burning. It is being overrun and overtaken and destroyed as we speak. And then I was going to start talking about how, in Brooklyn and New York City in general, we have people just climbing out of manhole covers, 7 or 8 here, 10 or 12 there. Once they climb out of said manhole covers, they go over and change their clothes, change the tags on the back of their cars, and then flit off into the night. Feels like something out of Ghostbusters or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but more than likely it's something that is going to involve some horrific situation occurring in New York City over the next however many hours. So we will definitely keep an eye on that once we have more information. But what I want to talk to you about right this second, and you may think, Michelle, what the crap is this? I want to show you a picture. And then we need to have a serious discussion, because this is something that affects you, it affects me, it affects my child, your children, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, numerous other children in our country specifically. This is Jennifer Lopez and her daughter, Emmy. All right, daughter Emmy. And the reason I bring this up to you is because I am constantly bombarded on social media with all of these celebrities who suddenly have transgender children. And it is absolute batshit to me. And so I want to just talk to you about it, because I've done a little digging here to make sure that I'm not the crazy one, and that maybe it's these parents. So according to this, Jennifer Lopez, her daughter Emmy, was going by non-binary for the longest time, non-binary, has now come out as trans and has changed her name to identify as a man, all right? She was previously, like I said, non-binary. She used they, them pronouns, which is full on retarded, and now identifies as trans using the male name Oscar, but not the regular Oscar, it's Oskar, right? Now, the reason I bring this up to you is because you have to think about the home life, the family life of Emmy here. You have Jennifer Lopez, who had this child and another actual son, I believe, with Mark Anthony, the singer. And then they split up. She'd already been married before that, at least once or twice, I believe. And then had children with Mark Anthony, then split up, and then was with Ben Affleck for a couple months or however long, then split up. This woman cannot hold a relationship to save her effing life. And a lot of people have the conversation of it's hard for children to grow up in a household where there is zero consistency, where mom or dad or both, especially in these celebrities' households, are playing other people, constantly playing different roles, whatever else, away from the children. And I can understand how that can have a mental impact on the children themselves, right? But I saw that and I was like, all right, so here's what's interesting to me. Ben Affleck, her old boyfriend or husband, I guess they were married for a while before he got tired of her shit and left her like everybody else. Before that, he was married to Jennifer Garner, who is also an actress in Hollywood, and they have children. And Ben Affleck has a non-binary child who identifies as a boy, and another who permanently wears a COVID mask. I don't know if you've seen their kids. I didn't pull up their pictures. I don't really want to put kids out there like that. The only reason I'm showing you Emmy is because it has to do with this whole situation, and I refuse to call her a him, a they, a them, or Oscar, because that is a female. As confused as she is, that is still a female child, right? So they're talking about how there's so many different people out there that have these transgender kids. And this person, Link Lauren, you guys have heard of Link, he posted up, he said, this happens a lot when daughters have hyper feminine, attention seeking mothers. They swing the other way drastically, rejecting femininity and rebelling. I've seen it with many girls the last few years. Instead of trying to be like her mom, J-Lo's daughter now dresses as a boy and uses a boy's name. Maybe something we can discuss further and delve into more, which I think is a very good topic or good conversation to have. When you see these women out there that are constantly basing their self-worth off of how many men can focus on them or how good they look or whatever else, and are constantly gyrating on a stage and basically half dressed, almost naked, and trying to be sex symbols at almost 60. I don't know how J-Lo is, but she's getting up there in age as far as I know, right? That's got to have a negative impact on children, especially young females. Emmy could have gone one of two ways. She could have either, started to hoe out like a lot of other girls do based off of how their parents are, or she could have gone this route and gone the complete opposite. Same thing, let's think about this. Same thing when you see young men who are being raised, and a lot of people say single mothers when there's not a masculine man in the household, but I say mothers who are over-sexualized and whatever else. You see a lot of young men go the gay route as opposed to the straight route, because they are being raised by women who are so over overly sexualized that these young men don't really understand how to be men, because all they see is whatever that is, right? And heaven forbid they do have a man in the household too who's also very feminine and not really masculine. It's very confusing for the boy in the house, right? Which is why I think you have a lot more confused young men these days who wear jeans that are too tight, who talk in a feminine way, who carry the purses, who do all these things, who are confused on their gender or their sexuality, whatever else. A lot of it goes back to the parents. But what I thought was very interesting, after I saw this with J-Lo, I was like, all right, here's my question. Since 2020, there has been an onslaught, like a ridiculous amount of celebrities that have come out of the woodwork to say that their kids are transgender. Are they putting something in the milk these days? I mean, obviously there's stuff in our food and whatnot, but why are suddenly, since 2020, since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris took over, it's like transgender is just sprouting up out of nowhere. We went to dinner today. Before I get into the fact of what transgender actually is and who these people are, we went to dinner today, and the restaurant that we went to eat at, it is, I would say, probably more of a left-leaning establishment just based off of the visual of a lot of the people that work there and eat there. But they have some really good wings, and sometimes you want a really good chicken wing, right? And nobody's ever talked politics to us. Nobody's ever been an ass to us or whatever else. Just visually, you feel like maybe we're a little democratic over there, right? So we're there eating, and this man walks in. But this man is in full, I would say, Tina Turner kind of getup, like the long wig and some cowboy boot looking things and some booty shorts. I mean, he had a butt, he could do it, but booty shorts and like a sequined gold top kind of thing, super muscular, obviously a man dressed as a woman. And my brain, the first thing my brain does is go, okay, is this person super gay and just likes to look feminine? Does this person think that they're a female? Is this person crying out for help? Like, what exactly is this? Because what goes through somebody's mind that goes, let me as a man dress up as feminine as humanly possible and go out in public? It's weird to me. I'm not saying that, you do you, boo, is what I generally tell people, but it's very weird to me to cross-dress like that just for like shits and giggles unless you're going to something. But anyway, it made me think of J-Lo, which is what started this whole conversation. So I was curious about how many different celebrities have suddenly come out with transgender kids. And since 2020, there have been 15 to 30, which is a very wide number, I'm aware. High-profile celebrity parents have publicly supported transgender or non-binary children with a noticeable cluster of announcements and visibility since 2020. Since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris took office and then for some reason just shot the LGBTQIA plus whatever rainbow into every genre of life. I mean, it is in Blue's Clues. It is in all kinds of kids movies. It's music. Everywhere you look, there is a push for gay pride or transgender this or non-binary that or whatever else. And it's like very weird to me that there's never been this massive push for be heterosexual, and keep your sexuality to yourself. Like where's that? Anyway, so I'm looking at this and I just want to go through a couple of these. Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. You guys know Dwayne Wade. He was with Miami Heat, the big three with, with him and Chris Bosh and LeBron James. Remember when LeBron was like, I'm taking my talents to South Beach because he couldn't do shit in Cleveland. So he took his talents to South Beach, and then everywhere he just keeps flitting around and effing up whatever basketball team he happens to be on. What's his name? Dwayne Wade had a son named Zaire, I think. And then suddenly Zaire is now Zaya, daughter Zaya. No, it's Zaire. It's a boy and whatever. The 12 to 13 years old in 2020, and they just let him start dressing like a female and taking him onto red carpet events as a female, not realizing this is a mental issue, 100% mental issue. Then you have Jamie Lee Curtis says, daughter Ruby came out in 2020. No, that's a son. I don't even know what her son's name is, but there is this meme that goes around of Jamie Lee Curtis and her actual daughter, who is beautiful, and her son, who is just dressed as a woman. And Jamie Lee Curtis going, if you didn't know that one of them used to be be a boy, you would not know which one was which. And I'm like, that is a mean ass thing to say about your actual daughter, to say that people wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this clear man dressed up as a woman and this actual female who is beautiful. Like, how as the actual daughter do you not feel every level of disrespect humanly possible from your mother at that point, right? So then you have Robert De Niro, which is why he is so incredibly loud about hating President Trump and, basically being up Joe Biden's ass and anybody else that happens to be on the left at the forefront of whatever little march they decide to do in New York and whatnot. He is always up front because he also has, they're saying, daughter Erin publicly came out in 2025. I don't know what his son's name actually is, so we're just going to leave it at that. Then you have Naomi Watts and Liev Schreiber. They have a daughter, Kai. Nope, still a boy who decided to be a girl. Heather Dubrow, I don't know who that is, but a young child came out, age 12. Marlon Wayans, bro, literally a Wayans brother, has a daughter who has come out as a son now named Kai, whatever, in the last couple of years. And then Tia Carrere, you guys remember her from Wayne's World. She was the like hot pot. I don't know what you're supposed to call her. The Asian looking chick that everybody used to love back in the 90s. She has a daughter who came out as a son, whatever else. But you have so many more. You had Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt had a kid. You have Cher back in the day, but these are older ones. Cher, and then Warren Beatty and Annette Bening had one. Sade had one. Cynthia Nixon was one of the loudest ones. She used to be on Sex and the City. And I remember last year or the year before, during the Joe Biden, whatever, she came out in New York City talking about how she has so many people in her family who are trans. And I'm thinking to myself, are you all on the same drugs then? Like, how do you have so many people in your family that are trans? My entire life growing up, I never saw or heard of or knew anybody that was trans, wanted to be trans, thought they were in the wrong body, had gender dysmorphia, whatever you want to call it. None of that ever was a thing. Bruce Jenner kicked it off when he decided he didn't want to be with Kris Jenner anymore, and they had a TV show to run, and he really wanted that paycheck. And he was like, you know what? Wheaties box, we're done with that. We're not running any races anymore. Chop off the sausage, make a taco, throw a wig on me, and let's get it done. Actually, he didn't throw a wig on. He started growing his hair out when they were doing the Kardashian, keeping up with that bullshit. But either way, he was the kickoff to it all. And it has been downhill ever since. You also have Charlize Theron. You know her. She's been in a ton of movies. She adopted black boys, and now suddenly her two black boys are suddenly black girls. So not only did you adopt children, you adopted children of another race, and then you convinced those children of another race that they were also the wrong gender. Like, are you kidding me right now? You have others that obviously, Ali Sheedy, there's Sting has a kid that's somehow come out and whatever else. But here's the thing. Because this is how I ask questions. What is the mental illness name when you think you're inside the wrong body? Because here's the thing. It is a mental illness, okay? Gender dysphoria is the current clinical term for the condition where a person experiences significant distress because they feel their gender identity does not match their biological sex, often described as being trapped in the wrong body as opposed to trapped in the closet. If you know, you know. So this is the thing. According to the American Psychiatric Association, DSM-5-TR, that's the clinical title they've given it. Gender dysphoria is a diagnosable condition requiring clinically significant distress or impairment lasting at least 6 months, along with a marked incongruence between one's experienced expressed gender and assigned sex at birth. It replaced gender identity disorder in 2013 to focus on the distress rather than the pathologizing, however you say that, the identity itself, okay? But according to the World Health Organization, ICD-11, that's what they have it labeled as, like letters and numbers, uses gender incongruence, adolescence or adulthood, childhood. But here's the thing. It was moved out of the mental and behavioral disorders chapter into conditions related to sexual health to reduce stigma, reflecting the view that gender variant identities are not inherently mental illness. This is the World Health Organization who decided that instead of naming it what it is and keeping it what it is, which is a mental illness under mental and behavioral disorders, they decided that they were going to move it to conditions related to sexual health. All right. Which makes it seem like it's normal and not a big deal when some guy decides that he is in the wrong body and is supposed to be a female and is going to physically alter his body, or vice versa, girls trying to be guys, physically alter their bodies, take hormone blocking drugs, chop off parts of their body. At the same time, there are countries that do these kind of things to their male and female children, and we look at them like they are batshit and horrible because they are disfiguring these kids. But when you do it here and it's a celebrity's kid, then it makes perfect sense and it's okay, and it should be paid for by the state and your taxpayer money, right, California? Okay, but here's what's interesting here. Here we go. Okay. Is it a mental illness? This is the question. It remains in the DSM, which is the psychiatric manual, so it qualifies as a mental health diagnosis. Critics argue the core incongruence may reflect underlying issues, autism, trauma, social influence, or other psychiatric comorbidities common in this population. Proponents see it as a mismatch best addressed by affirmation and transition. Okay. Outcome data, blah, blah, whatever. Here's the thing. This is the precise psychiatric term matching your description. Diagnosis requires professional evaluation, blah, 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 blah. But the whole thing here is that it tells you where to go. Gender conformity, no. Where to go. Proponents see it as a mismatch best addressed. Outcomes data, desistance, transition, mental rapid. No, where did it go? There was a whole sentence in here that made perfect sense because it talked about how I've gone past it somehow. Oh, here it is. A small handful of celebrities, whatever, have publicly known and supported trans children before 2020. Small, right? Far fewer and less spotlighted than post-2020. This aligns with the societal shifts in identification and openness rather than a sudden celebrity-only phenomenon, whatever. Broader data on youth dysphoria trends, desistance rates, and social factors remain relevant for fuller perspective, but it is all because of the openness of progressive circles, media amplification, alongside, where is it? Broader youth identification rates rose sharply in 2020s, especially among teens, alongside social media, affirmation models in progressive circles, and media amplification. Celebrity environments, urban affluent, therapy heavy, amplify trends. Pre-2020 trans awareness was lower, so fewer parents went public early. In 2020, it was the main topic. From 2020 on, once Joe Biden and them got in office, it was the main topic, which is why you see this so very much. But here's my whole takeaway on this. Listen, it is a mental health issue. It is in psychiatric manuals as a mental health issue. You have people in power trying to take it out of that context so that it's more frowned upon when you and I, the people who see it as the mental illness it is, call it out for what it is. And that is a stepping stone for also the same thing of us not being able to call out how we're being overtaken by Islamists, Muslims, things like that. When you have Ilhan Omar in office who hates America, when you have AOC putting on a hijab and doing the Eid whatever to a group of all Muslim men, not a single woman in the crowd, and she's over there pandering to these people, when you see people that are literally burning Paris to the ground, when you see people that are coming out of manholes in New York and you can look at them and visually see they look like a certain type of whatever, we are being programmed not to see those things and think negative. We're supposed to see those things and be like, oh, that's normal, that's okay. That way, when things go just absolute haywire, batshit, and we point it out, we are the bad ones, as opposed to letting it just be. Just let things happen. They're not bad. It's not a big deal. It's okay. It's normal. It's right. And it's not. And the more we see things like this, J-Lo's kid deciding that she's a he, and the parents just, oh, that's so cute, honey, I'm going to call you Oscar from now on. We're supposed to agree with that. And when we don't, we are the bad ones. And that's fucked up. And I just want to bring that to your attention. We will get into the deep conversation of what's actually going on in Paris and New York City and other stuff like that. But this is also still a topic that needs to be discussed, because just because President Trump is in office doesn't stop the libtards and the Democrats from pushing mental illness on their children or allowing it to happen. But the thing is, if I or a child, a white child, goes, you know what, I think I'm black, parents wouldn't allow that. But why is it that they can say that they're in the wrong body and parents are all for it and will go pump them full of hormones and drugs and chop parts off their body and pretend like they've done a good thing for this child? I need to understand that, because to me, that makes you a shitty parent. And that is all. That's all. That's literally all. I love y'all.